Welcome to the Lovers Lounge podcast, where we talk to experts and other guests on topics related to love, relationships, and sex. I am your host, Tina Love, and on this episode, I'm going to be talking with celebrity hairstylist DaRico Jackson and his fiance, Christopher Dunningham. DaRico Jackson and his fiance are going to discuss with us their journey in dating after 40 and what led them to meet each other. They are now in a committed relationship and soon to be marriage. Hello, welcome you guys.
Hey there, how are you?
Hello, everyone.
Yes, I am so glad to have you guys on the show. Of course, DaRico, I've been knowing you for years, and I was so excited to see Christopher. I saw you guys doing a Facebook Live the other week, which was hilarious, by the way. You guys, you guys are so funny. So anyway, when I saw it, I said, "Oh my gosh, I have to have them on. They're the cutest couple." Um, I want to tell some people a little bit about you, DaRico, and then I'm going to find out a little bit about Christopher. DaRico, you're a native of St. Louis, Missouri, and you're now residing in Los Angeles, California. You are a creative artist with a comprehensive collection of styles in his prominent portfolio, and you are still striving to be better at your craft, of course. I thought it was very interesting, DaRico. Right now, you're working on the set for 911, and you are the stylist for Angela Bassett. Is that correct?
I am. You get all that correct. It's funny. I still am a little shy in receiving all that information and connecting with the person that goes to it, because I'm the same person that I was, when I lived at home. It's still a shock to me. I'm the same country. I'm the same St. Louis person that used to be right there on Del Mar doing Tina Weatherby's hair.
Yes.
Now Tina Love.
Yes.
So yeah, I've done all of that and so much more. And it's such a blessing.
I know. We've known each other for like, what, 25, 30 years, maybe even more now.
Maybe even more than that. The irony is that the day that we did that, or the day before that we did that taping on Facebook Live, I had just pulled out some pictures from when I had Contour at home, and you were hosting one of the shows. And, and then the irony of you hitting us up on that very next day, I told Christopher, I said, you know who that is? I'm like, that's just the woman that was on the picture that I just pulled out of the photo album now today. And I was like, I wonder how Tina is doing.
Yes, awesome. Well, some things are just meant to happen. So tell me a little bit about Christopher. Christopher, what do you do? Just kind of introduce yourself to me and the listeners right now.
Well, I am Christopher Dunningham, the fiance of DaRico. What can I say? I'm 52, from the world of retail. Unfortunately, because of Corona, to take a back seat on now that unnecessary human contact. But still here, still fighting the good fight. So that's Christopher.
All right. So, Rico, what can you tell me about Christopher? Because I know he's going to be modest and just say, but yes, what can you tell me about
I'm
him?
gonna tell you something. I'm gonna tell you something about Christopher, because now that I am 50, I just turned 50 last year. Oh my God!
Yes.
Now that I'm 50, what I can tell you about Christopher is golden. Like, having been through several long-term relationships, my first relationship was 6 years. My second relationship was 9 years. You knew that relationship,
Right.
and with Everett. And my relationship after that, after I moved to LA, was another 8 years. And so, having been in those relationships and been been a younger person, getting to be this age and getting someone that has the same things in common, and someone that is just really a good-hearted person, somebody that's very sweet, that pays me attention, that that has equal amounts of love to share, is really, really a wonderful thing. Like I tell everybody's like, oh my God, why do you think that Christopher is the one, and what makes him so special? I said the difference in Christopher and what makes him so special is that Christopher wants to be here, and I want him here. And I was
Yeah.
like, and that is a formula for success if I've ever heard it. Because I'm gonna tell you, a lot of people waste their time and other people's time by not wanting to be in something that they're in, and just out of love,
Yeah.
not really having the heart to tell the other person, but then going out and doing what it is that they want to do in spite of. So,
Right, right. Keeping
so
people around just for the sake of keeping people around. Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely,
Right.
absolutely. So that's who Christopher is to me. He's
Yay.
he's just he's a reward for all those years of practice.
Yay. Okay, well, we're going to talk more about that. We're going to talk more about that. So, okay, the other day I was listening to your Facebook Live, right? And you all were talking about the challenges of dating when you're over 40. Now, you have said now you're 50. Rico, you had a great
Hmm.
party and everything. And Christopher, so what I want to find out from both of you is sort of your journey, like your experience of dating over 40. What was that like right before you guys finally met? What were you experiencing? So, Christopher, why don't you tell me a little bit about your experience dating over 40, like right before you met DaRico? Like, what was happening for you?
Hmm. For myself, and I think I can speak for quite a few others, after the age of 40, that's where a lot of men are going through that midlife crisis.
Mm,
If their bodies start starting to give out, or their success isn't quite where it is, et cetera, they tend to want to relive a certain part of their 20s or early 30s, after the age of 40. Because we're now looking at them like, so what are you doing? You're over 40. Are you successful? Are you in great shape? Are you smart? Are you wiser? Are you, whatever the case may be? And if you're not there, then they tend to reach back, because someone of equal age, they know what you should be doing or where you should be per se.
mm-hmm.
And you could be judged. But, when you are, in your early 40s and you're still trying to reach back, you'll reach back for that younger one that's not as responsible, doesn't really care what responsibility is. So you guys can, kind of ruffle through the bushes together. But when, as an adult, it becomes a little more serious after the age of 40. And a lot of people aren't that serious. They're not that they're ready. They're just not quite ready.
Mm-hmm.
They look the part, but not ready to do what's needed to be done.
Okay.
So that was a struggle in my 40s. That was definitely a struggle.
I see. So people just not being maybe on the same page or being what they say like equally yoked or just being, you know, going in the same
Ready to give
direction.
up their 30s. Ready to give up their fun 30s.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, a challenge. So Rico, what were
Right.
you experiencing then? I know I think I heard Rico that you made some choices at one time to date people that were younger than you, and that really, I don't know, it was interesting, but at the same time, it was a learning experience for you. So tell me about that.
my turning 40 and dating was really interesting because I still looked, pretty much the same as I did in my 30s.
You do.
Uh, Although I was a little, thank you, I was a little more experienced in it and in my career, so it gave me the financial stability to do the things that I wanted to do or couldn't do in my 20s. So it made dating fun because now here I am looking like I did in my 30s, but meeting guys who are in their 50s and 60s who weren't physically fit and who didn't look as good and who didn't keep themselves in shape and were battling with the midlife bulge and that wasn't attractive to me.
Okay.
So I went after younger men, who were just as virile and just as fun and just as spontaneous, and we could do things that my counterparts, the equals, didn't want to do because of exhaustion or just out of shape, and hiking and bike riding and all those things. So I had ended up dating younger, and I thought I could handle it, and because I'm the older one, I'm the more mature one, I'm more established. I've done this before. I could teach him something, which was true. But the other problem was that I was lacking, in conversation, in being able to communicate about relatable things. I mean, I couldn't even talk about I think the example I used was the Jeffersons, the episode of the Jeffersons, because my boyfriend was 20 years younger than me. He could be my child. You know
Right,
what I'm saying?
right, right.
So, so that was the problem with that. It was fun. It was fun in the bedroom, and it was fun, out in the streets. But there was another part of it that made me feel very insecure because
Yeah.
when I went out on the streets with him, I looked like his father.
Oh no.
I tried to convince myself that I didn't look that much older than him because physically we were the same size, same height, around the same weight, complexion, everything. But there was this young man there, and there's these moments where I couldn't help thinking that he wanted something around his own damn age, or somebody to kick it with. And although I was insecure about it and would bring it to him, he would constantly reassure me that he could handle it. He likes older men. So, there's that. But I couldn't deal with it. Then in addition to that, finally, of course, he turned into the younger man and he did exactly what he should have been doing at that age, chasing men. And so in addition to that, I got my feelings hurt. So,
Oh.
there were a few things there where I was like, I would never set my ass up for this again, ever again, because not only was it somewhat humiliating,
Yeah.
because it was one of those things where my peers were like, "Oh, well, what did you expect with your old ass?" But
Wow.
not only was it humiliating, but it was certainly humbling, and it made me have a new appreciation for being with men my age,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then I went to the flip side right after that. I dated a gentleman who was older than me who hadn't yet matured to a level that could handle the relationship that we were in because in his mind, not only did he still look good and could run around with 20-year-olds, his his social group was between the ages of maybe 20 and 30. So he
Hmm.
he still hadn't matured enough to want to be in a mature relationship. He was at the time we dated. I was 48 and he was 56 or 57. Or
Yeah.
no, I'm sorry, 55 or 56. But I had to deal with chasing him and all the things that I would have with the 20-year-old. So there is that. So
Yeah.
I've had the best of, I mean, the worst of both worlds. But then, finally, I decided to try online dating because I had run into a few doors, and I felt foolish and ridiculous about it because I'm like, well, what am I doing online dating at 50 years old? So
Yeah.
what I decided that was about it was that, oh, this is nothing but for a hookup. I'm not really trying to meet nobody because nobody substantial is online because obviously they're hiding if they don't want to meet anybody in person. And then once I realized how ridiculous that was, because here I am sitting on the other end of this thing,
Hmm.
I thought, okay, let's give it a try. And I ran across Christopher's profile.
All right, but wait. We don't want to tell that. We don't want to tell
Okay.
too much. Not right now. I'm getting to that. I'm getting to that. But I want to hear from
Okay.
Christopher now because Christopher, it was so funny in the Facebook Live video that I saw the other day that had me just rolling on the floor. Christopher,
Okay.
you were talking about your experience dating younger people, and you were just kind of like, I can't even do it. You told about some experience about somebody not knowing who I think Nell Carter was or something, or
Absolutely. Absolutely.
tell about that.
Absolutely.
So, what was your experience dating younger guys too? Like, what did you walk away with? And
Well, using that particular thing as an example, briefly, it was a short conversation. It was an open conversation, and the person we were talking about Whitney Houston, and we were talking about their
that's
history
what it
and what
was.
they had
Yes,
accomplished
yes.
in their beginnings. So I said, "Oh yeah, she was on Give Me a Break." So this gentleman responded with, "She's never been on a singing show. She never had to compete in competition." I said, "No, Give Me a Break isn't a competition show. It's a sitcom."
Yes.
He said, "A sitcom?" I said, "Yeah, Nell Carter." He said, "Who's that?" I was ready to go.
Right, right. You were like,
I
okay,
was ready
this,
to go.
yeah,
I'm
you're,
done. you know. So that was I myself. because I don't physically look my age, people tend to think that I was younger. But the difference was older guys were interested in me because they thought that I was younger.
I see. Yeah.
And that's the kick in the head with that, because I don't go for younger guys. They sometimes come my way, but they kind of pick up on my vibe, like, oh, he's not interested in my tennis shoes. No, I'm not. I'm just not. So they kind of pick up on that, and you know, men my age or older, or close to my age, were always under the impression I was 10 years younger than my actual age.
Huh.
So they kind of thought they was getting a little bit of a tender. So,
Hmm.
conversation opened up. They're like, wait a minute, you know a little bit too much. You're not talking about something as if you're repeating a story. You're talking about it as if you were there firsthand. You experienced it. I'm like,
Okay.
yeah. So like, uh-oh. So now they can tell I can see through them.
Okay. So now
Then they back away.
they can't run games. So yeah. So
Right, right.
so it's
So it's no
interesting.
longer like,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. It's interesting because both of you guys, Rico, you talked about dating the guy who was 56. He was older than you, and when you were 48. And then, Christopher, you're talking about your experience. So do you find that, so the older men then, is that the thing? The older men look for younger men uh, on purpose because they want somebody younger intentionally. Is that really what you're finding, or is that
yeah.
kind of how it's all working?
Because it's like they're trying to find the youth that they lost.
Mm.
I see it more and more. I see it more and more. I don't know what I haven't had like a discussion to see what the common reason is why older men. I have a best friend who lives there in St. Louis who's still at home, and he just had a disastrous, 2 or 3, or maybe 3 or 4 year situation with a man who was in his 20s, and
Mm.
he experienced a lot of the same things, except for the problem that he got to experience was the person looked to him like he was a sugar daddy. So
Mm.
here he is out
Wow.
buying material things, trying to satisfy this person, and this person just can't get enough. Zuzus and wham whams, but apparently had a whole lot of love to share, not only there, but in a few other situations with older men that he came to find out. So, it's like one of those things where it's a catch 22. You
I
think
know.
that you think you're accomplishing something by dipping in golden pond, but, you're coming out of it, the more golden they become, the less vibrant you are. So it's a trip out here.
It's really, yeah.
It's dating over 40 is not that fun at all.
Yeah.
You almost become paranoid, or at least for myself, you
Yeah.
almost become paranoid. But then the flip side of it is I kicked it in my 40s very hard. I had a very, very good time. So even though nothing substantial came out of it, I did have some fun,
You look like you
and
had fun. Yeah.
I did. I had a very, very good time. In fact, I was ready for my 50s to come, because I'm going to tell you something about turning 50. I did not want to grow old alone. That's my big thing. So,
Yeah.
you know, after a while, it became important for me to find me a life partner. And, on Facebook, what looked like me going through a lot of different dudes was me trying to figure out which one was going to be more substantial, more long lasting, and that was going to provide me with the amount of love and consideration that I had to get.
Yeah. Don't you kind of think, in those 40s, that's where we experience all the turbulence and stuff. But then, like you said, now you've gotten to a situation where you're in a relationship with Christopher, and Christopher, now you're with DaRico, and now you guys can appreciate each other because during those turbulent times in the 40s where you've seen all of what you learned and you went all through all that, now you can appreciate the great person that you have today. I mean, is that really, can I get an amen? I mean, do y'all feel that way?
Absolutely.
Look, one, I was waiting on you to finish so that I can lay out on this
Absolutely.
floor and scream hallelujah. You are exactly right. It is so refreshing, and it's quite the reward.
And you
Yeah.
find yourself saying, so, whoever your mentor was, they were right. I do need to communicate more. I do need to be a little more affectionate. I do need to be a little more attentive, whatever the case may be. I do
Yeah.
need to be a little stronger, wiser. You learn from, whoever taught you,
Yeah.
and you carry that with you. And then
Yes.
you find yourself saying, that was right. I had a good teacher.
Great. Awesome. All right. Well, so we went through all this craziness in the 40s, had fun, learned a lot about ourselves, all of the good times, bad times. And then you're like, but you know what? Enough is enough. Cause like I'm really ready to settle down. I'm ready to find somebody that I can spend the rest of my life with. I don't want to grow old by myself. Right. And so,
Right.
Rico, you said that you went online to start pursuing and finding that right person. And Christopher was online, is that right?
Absolutely.
So how did this tell me about this how did you select Christopher? Like what site did you go on and how did you select him? And so how did this all come about, you guys?
So, you know how you're on Facebook, and I mean, I was on a lot of apps too, but you know how you're on Facebook and somebody and a person passes through your feed and there's somebody you ought to know,
Okay. Yeah.
um, or suggestions of people that you might know based on the people you're connected with, and his page passed by, and I looked and I was like, oh, he's cute.
Yeah.
And so I scrolled through again and went through and became a stalker and looked at his page because it wasn't private and he didn't have it locked up. And
Right.
so I went through because you can kind of tell a person when you're on those things the type of person they are. He's very political. He posts a lot of things that have to do with pop culture. He seems to like fashion and beauty. I was a little skeptical though because he likes um the Housewives, or at least he likes Kenya Moore, and I'm like, I can't stand that show or those people.
He
But
She's
Christopher
just so
okay.
beautiful. She's just so beautiful.
Okay.
Oh,
but for the things that I could see, but then I looked at the pictures of him and I thought, damn, he's fine. I
Mm.
was like, and I was like, and he got all of this salt and pepper gray hair mingling through here on a picture because all the other pictures he had dyed it, so I couldn't really tell his age or not or figure it out. And
Uh-huh.
of course, I went through to see, the birthday situation, and I thought, I'm gonna give it a try. And so I hit him up in his inbox
Okay.
because I'm not progressive that way, and he barely responded, and I hit him again, and he responded again, and we chopped a little bit, and I asked, "Can I call you?" So this is back in May. This is our relationship is very new too, y'all. We just met each other in May, and in that time, I've known that he was the one because obviously so. In January, we moved in together, and soon to be married, like you said. So it went very fast,
All
but
right.
I also feel like, when you get to this age, you kind of know, and you don't have a lot of time to be going through a courtship for the next 10 years.
Okay.
I always felt like, shoot, my friends were like, are you sure this is real soon? Y'all moving in together and this and that. Didn't you just meet him? I was like, listen, I've been in enough relationships to understand what a breakup is. And, this feels good to me. If it don't work, I'm going to take my chance on it, and if
Oh,
it doesn't work out, then I know how to get rid of a person. This ain't my first time in the rodeo, but at
right.
least I want to try because I'm in love with him.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
anyway, back to the story. So I reached out to him, and I called him, and I was actually on my way to a job to do an interview, and I think I made mention of that a little bit in the conversation. I try not to mention those things because I mean,
Right.
although working with Angela Bassett is every day is a very big deal, I don't want to introduce that in the forefront. It's like you're setting yourself up
Oh,
either to
yeah.
be used, or you're setting yourself up to just, it's like she would steal my relationship is what the way I would feel about it. Not her personally, but the
Right, right, right,
situation.
right, right.
It
Yeah.
became more
Yeah.
intriguing than myself. So I kind of said that because I was getting ready to go to work. But in the meantime, he was very dry and he sounded a little disgruntled. He put me on hold because he said he was going through some things with his mother, and that was his brother on the other line, and he would call me back, and I did not hear from him.
Okay. Now wait a minute. Christopher. I want to hear from Christopher now. Christopher.
yeah.
So he hits you up in your DM, right? And had to do it twice, okay? And finally you talk to him. So now what are you thinking? Yeah, because I'm first of all, I'm also chuckling because I saw something a post from you earlier. You're like, how can you delete these people who you may know? Because I don't want to see this person's face anymore. You know,
Right,
you
right, right,
posted that.
right.
I thought that was funny. But anyway, that was on Facebook. You posted that. I thought that was cute. But at any rate, so Rico reaches out to you. So what are you thinking
Right.
at this point? And so what's going on your end?
I'm actually thinking at this point, okay, I'm back in California from Atlanta. What is this?
Mm,
Really? It can't happen this fast, this soon. I was mentally exhausted,
okay.
just mentally exhausted on the whole dating, just everything. But out of the clear blue, and it's true, right when you really
Yep.
stop looking for it,
Mm-hmm.
it starts looking for you, tapping you on the shoulder, tripping you in the street, bumping into you. You never know when it's gonna come.
That's right.
So out of the clear blue, I get a message. I didn't take it seriously at first because I'm thinking, okay, this guy is seeing a fresh new face across Facebook. What does this mean to him? Nah, never mind. But then I notice he's not necessarily persistent, but he gives himself and me another try. And then I respond. And I'm
Okay.
like, okay, is he talking my language? Because he starts using words that I don't use. It's not going to work
Mm,
because it means I can't talk to you.
right.
And the more we started communicating just through text, I'm like, okay, he's using the correct word. He's not spelling, he's just using the correct word.
Yes.
So I decided to share my telephone number and it grew from there.
All right. So now
It
you.
wasn't that simple, Tina,
Oh. Yes. Okay.
because in May,
Yes,
because
it
that
was.
was just in May, and then I didn't hear from him or talk to him again until August when I happened to be online again and saw his little light on Facebook and decided to message him again. So that's the whole summer was done in August, and I had just hit this dude up in May. So I was like, listen, I'm gonna try it again, and I wasn't gonna hit him up again because I was like, he's rude.
Uh.
He did not call me back, and I was like, this is not the behavior that I want from my 50-year-old. But he's so fine, I'm gonna hit him up again.
Okay.
And so one Saturday morning, I happened to be on Facebook, and my day canceled out. Because outside of my industry work, I still do my ladies because that's the backbone of my business. And so my whole day had canceled out that day. So I found myself at home on a Saturday in a long time with the day off. And I was laying in bed and saw his little light on and decided to give him a hello. And he actually responded.
Well, what do you know?
So when he responded,
Mm-hmm.
we were chopping it up. And I think I asked him how old he was. But we were only texting. I think I asked him how old he was. And he told me. And I think he had posted something, a Shaka Khan song or something like that on his page because he loves her and he always posts that. And I posted maybe the hook to the song or something on his page and in his page and was like, people don't know nothing about music like this. This is when music was good. It was a time when music was good, times were good. There was a lot of unity amongst Black people, and it just felt good. And and maybe it's because I was a kid at the time, or maybe it was, or maybe it's because times are just different. But every time I hear stuff like this, it just kind of, brings chills to me,
Yeah,
or whatever. And
I decided to respond because I responded with, not very many people know about Yvette Marie. And instead of him saying, who was that? Like, who are you talking about? He knew that was her given name,
Mm-hmm.
Yvette Marie. So I'm like, okay, this guy knows a little something here. I just can't throw that in. I just can't say no. I got to
Okay.
dig into that. So that was a treat.
All
so
right.
the more I typed, the more he responded, the more we connected on a lot of different things. The more, we talked about everything. We just, about the disrespect of the children today and the millenniums and all these fights on Facebook and how, we love when you could go to your neighbor's house after school and it was safe and when times were different and da-da-da-da. And finally I had gotten so excited laying in that bed, y'all, because by this time I'm sitting up in the bed. I was like, can I call you?
Yes.
And he said yes. And I called him and we talked for hours and it was so good. I mean, we talked about everything and it seemed like everything we had in common was just like talking to myself. And I was like,
Oh.
okay, I need to see this dude in person. I was like, do you want to go for coffee later? And he was like, sure. I got to go to the library though. And I said, not the hike yet. He said, I got to go to the library though. And I said, okay. I said, he's like, it's right down the street from my house. I said, well, why don't I just pick you up from the library? And on the way, I was like, would you like to go hiking instead?
Oh.
And he said, sure, because I was like, I don't want to just be sitting up in Starbucks. I want to do something and talk a little bit longer. You know, I felt like I was taking a chance though, because I was like, what if I get trapped with this Negro and I got to hike another 5 miles with him and I don't like him? That would be a setup. But it was something that I thought, oh, okay. And so then I pulled.
No, tell the truth. You saw me in my little shorts, and I looked
I
kind of
didn't
hot.
see you in your shorts yet.
Yeah, he did. After the fact.
No, because you said you didn't have nothing to wear hiking on the way, and then you said you would found something because you
Right.
and so anyway, I picked him up at the library, and I'm gonna tell you, I saw him sitting on the wall. He didn't know I saw him sitting on the wall at the library,
Uh-huh.
and then I bent the corner and did a drive by, and then made the block, and then came back and parked after I saw him.
Uh-huh.
The shade.
And then I got out of the car and greeted him and opened up the trunk for him to put his stuff in, and then we went on our hike.
All right. Now, Christopher, you have to
Yes.
tell me about this hike. How was that?
Okay. Born and raised in Los Angeles, California. Well, not born and raised, but grew up in Southern California.
Okay.
Um, I knew about hiking. I knew about the mountains. We did a few little things like that. But I was raised by my grandmother, and it was just my grandmother and I. So of course, my grandmother was very cautious, so that forced me to be very cautious.
Okay.
So I didn't play in the bushes. I didn't play in the mountains. I didn't play on the freeways. I just didn't play. Uh, it took a lot out of me to do that.
Oh, wow.
So I had to trust myself and trust him. So I said, okay, I've been guilty of never trusting.
Mhm.
So let me give it a try. This man has something to lose. He has a career. So I don't think he wants to throw it all away in the mountains.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, let's see.
So you were a little nervous, but at the same time, you were kind of, trusting that it was going to be okay. Even though you were a little cautious, you were like, okay, it's going to be okay. And it was, right? So you guys
Right.
connected during this hike, like you talked more and you were very connected. And so at any point, because I kind of know, DaRico, I think you kind of said you knew right away. But Christopher, did you know right away that like this is the one? Like, did you really
Mm,
get this right away, or how long did it take before you guys figured this
No,
out?
right away, I kind of thought, to be honest, I kind of thought, I hope this guy is just like a good kisser, or if it goes down, I hope he's good in bed. That's all I thought.
When he told me that I almost died, that I hope he's good bed. I'm glad he didn't tell me that in the beginning because
Well,
I would have felt like the pressure was on to put it down.
that's just how I felt. I was like, I'm new in town. No one's gonna really take me serious, and no one's gonna think I'm gonna take them serious either.
Hmm.
So absolutely not. So taking the hike was absolutely fine. It was actually when we sat down after we got to I guess, yeah, the turtle pond. We got to the turtle pond, and that's when I felt the magic. I felt the connection.
You felt the DaRico magic.
I did. I did.
Oh, okay.
Actually, he didn't get the Rico magic until, a month or so later, maybe two, when we decided to consummate.
I
Well,
see. I see. All right.
Then,
Well,
look, then he got the magic. Then he got
oh,
the
then he
magic.
got the real magic. Okay. All
He got
right.
the real
All right.
magic.
see how you told me on the bus? I could be a future politician. Don't do
Yes. Well, you
that.
guys are so funny. I tell you, just watching you back and forth, your personalities, it's so funny. I know that Christopher, listening to you, you like to be very upfront about
Right. The gray
things.
area is it's annoying and it's dangerous. I don't like the gray. It's either is you is or is you ain't. I can't. I can't. I just can't.
And so
That's all.
during that hike and all of these conversations you're having, I guess right up in the very beginning, you thought it was very important to just lay things out there on the line about who you are, what you want, all of that. Is that correct?
Absolutely. 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 And then you kind of pay attention to the choice of words a person uses, not just I agree, I agree. If they have feedback, and you pay attention again to the feedback, the choice of words that they use.
Right.
Do they end it with anger? Do they end it with a solution? Do they end it with a lesson learned? That's
Yes.
important.
All right. Great. Okay. And I know that, just because I've known Rico, like we said earlier, about 30 something years now. And I know, you know, you were talking about on Facebook the salon talk, right, Rico? And so I know Rico has something to say because we would always, salon talk would go from here to there to everywhere. And we would just talk about a whole lot of things. So I know he was giving you some feedback. I know that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I need that. That's important to me because then I feel like I'm talking to a wall.
Okay.
I'm gonna tell you one thing that I have learned from this relationship because it came very soon that I came to a strong realization early because usually I would always say, okay, when I leave this relationship, if I didn't leave with something or didn't learn something, I wasted my time. One thing that I have learned from Christopher is just brutal honesty.
Hmm.
As much and as uncomfortable as it is, sometimes I'm a little slow on reacting on it. He has to drive me to a point where I just can't take it, and I'm like, listen, let me tell you how I feel, how that made me feel, or you hurt my feelings, or like I've learned that from him, because a lot of the times we, feel like, or myself personally in my past relationships, I felt like some things aren't worth mentioning because it's very minute and small. But even those little things, if he's uncomfortable with it, he comes right out with it, which motivates me to do the very, very same. But it leaves a clear path. Like, I don't feel like I'm dragging anything around. And it makes me more excited about the next day. And this pandemic couldn't have come at a better point for me because, I worked very hard and around the clock. And with him working and me working, we weren't spending a lot of time together. So now we're snowed in together on Christmas break like the rest of the world, and we get an opportunity to get to know each other better than we would have in the next year or two because we have to be in here with each other every single day, and it lets me know whether or not I want to be here or not, and I
Right.
do.
Right. Well, that's
And
good. That's
and
good.
he's great company and a lot of fun. And I feel like I really made the best choice. I feel like I'm talking. I feel like I'm on one of those talk shows, Married at First Sight, and I'm giving you my my background on the situation.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because, a lot of relationships right now, people, it's different for them to be together on a different level now and a lot more time together. And so the opposite is happening with some couples. Like it's driving them apart because they're used to working and going their separate ways most of the day and then coming together at the end of the day for a few hours. Now they are, like you said, feel like they're snowed in and together more. But it was a blessing in disguise, I guess, for you all because now it's allowed you to get to know each other a little bit better. So that sounds good. All right.
Yes, and it allows you to obtain the friendship with the relationship.
Which is
I
good.
can't just want to be with you to split the bill. I have to want to be in your company.
Amen.
You
Because I
know,
was going to say the same thing. I was
Yeah.
like, it sounds like they realized they didn't really like each other.
right?
And
Right.
well, you can love somebody and not like them, and not even realize that some people have been together so long that they're a different person than they were when they got together, and they haven't done the
Yeah.
the transformation requirements to keep them together.
Yeah.
Because they transition and go away from each other as opposed to be finding a neutral space for them to continue on.
Yeah, it's interesting. So many things you guys are touching on doing this show. I mean, I've been talking to a lot of different relationship experts and people who've written books. And in episode 36, I was speaking with Steve and Janet. They wrote a book called The 15 Rules of Loving and Lasting Relationship. And so One of the things that they talk about in the book is the idea of being best friends, and it was interesting, Christopher. You start
Hmm.
talking about the friendship and how important it is, and then Rico, you just start talking about liking the person and loving the person, and that's something that was in their book, and part of one of their chapters is really asking yourself the question, first of all, do I really like this person? And not love,
Right,
but do I
right,
really
right.
like this person? And then do I really love this person, and vice versa. So it was interesting that you both brought that up. So do you guys consider yourselves best friends?
Yeah. Yeah, I can say yes. The other best friend. Yes.
Okay.
I posted on his birthday and I put on there, he's my everything, but I also included best friend.
Right.
And all of my best friends, especially my best friend Rhonda, was
Oh,
like, "Okay, you better watch that best friend shit."
yes, exactly. Yes, because all of a sudden other people, well, I thought I was your best friend, Yeah,
Right.
exactly. All right.
I'm gonna tell you though too. Another thing that I've noticed, which is very different from any other relationship that I was in, is that everybody agrees.
Good.
And that's also another thing because I've never been one of those people who really cared what my family and friends thought about my mate. If I liked them and if I was satisfied and I liked being around them and I loved them, then I was fine with that. I was with an introvert a very long time, and nobody could really understand our relationship, because he seemed mean to them out in the streets. He was nice to me, so that's all that really mattered. But it's a great feeling. My friends want to come over and visit, and when they
Good.
call, they're like, "Where's Christopher? How's Christopher doing?" And my family, "Hey, Christopher," whereas previously nobody seemed to really care.
Yeah.
So to have that feeling of family, because I've wanted it over the years, because
Yes.
I've watched, my brothers wives become, sisters and nieces and grandparents to my family, you know what I'm saying? And I've watched them become a part of my family. And even though I had a partner that I was with for a long time, they always felt like my partner, but not a part of the family. So it's really nice watching them indoctrinate him because he really does have a golden personality and a big
Yeah.
heart.
Yeah.
And I
Very.
think they realize that, and a lot of them are always saying, how good of a person that I am and that I deserve someone like Christopher. And guess what? I agree.
Yes, you are right. And that is so refreshing to hear. I am so glad to hear that. And I can see it. I'll tell you, when I saw the photo of you two, it was months ago. You posted something and I
Hmm.
saw that photo. First off, I had to take a double take. 'Cause I was like, how in the world did Rico get two of him on that stump?
we we get that so much.
It's
Y'all
so,
look just like.
oh
Wait a
my
minute,
God.
y'all look like twins.
Yes, and so I was like, first it kind of threw me. I said, "Wait a minute, how did he?" And then it was like, "Okay, no, this is somebody else." And oh my gosh, and I could just see, I saw right away because I know Rico. I saw the happiness and I saw the love right away. So who said I love you first?
Ooh.
Me.
Rico, you did.
Me,
Okay.
because Christopher, even if he was feeling it, knowing him now, I know he would have never said it
You
said
said
it
it
first,
first. Okay.
because he moves very cautiously. He's very
Ah.
different than I am.
Yep. Yep.
I go right to it, and I'm on it. I was on him like right on right,
Yep.
but he kind of moves very cautiously through this thing, to see if, and he even mentioned it a couple of times after about 2 months or so. He was like, "Is this real?
Yeah. Yeah.
When is this gonna stop? When
Right.
is it gonna be over?
Yeah.
When are you gonna drop off the face of the earth? Because all of this is just too good,
Right. It's like you're,
And
yeah.
then
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like you're almost wondering when the other shoe is gonna drop. Like, okay, come on now, this can't be real. You know what I'm saying? Like, when is this person gonna really
because
show me? Yeah,
because
Christopher.
I found myself thinking, wait a minute, all that I've gone through in life, what I think makes me stronger or wiser, I don't have to use that anymore.
Right.
I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I don't believe that I get to put my shields down. I don't believe it.
Yeah.
No, I don't believe it.
Yeah, that's good.
I just didn't believe it. And there was nothing in my past that gave me a chance to even believe that.
That it could be. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, now who has the
So,
hottest?
when
Yeah.
you,
Oh, okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Christopher.
who has the who?
I was gonna ask another question, but go ahead and finish what you were saying.
No, I'm ready for the
Okay.
next question.
All right. Who has the hottest temper? Who has the hottest temper? Who's feistier and just ready
I
to
do.
rumble?
Christopher.
I kind of figured that.
Christopher.
Yeah, yeah. All
Yeah.
right. Who likes to spend the most money?
Christopher.
Christopher. All right.
Mm,
So
mm,
I think I know the answer to this one. Who's the stabilizer in the relationship? Who's the one that keeps the calm and the stabilizer?
okay, DaRico.
I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. And who's the neater one out of the two of you?
Christopher.
Okay.
Christopher. Okay, so you got a little OCD in you, Christopher. You like things to be just where you put it
A
in.
little bit.
Yeah, yeah,
A
yeah.
little bit.
All
A
right.
little bit.
I told him to give me a map because everything has its place in here, and it always changes. So I'll be like, can you leave a map on the refrigerator so I can find out where everything is?
No, 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 no. I wasn't raised like that. It was like this. If you found it to dirty it up, you can wash it and put it back where
Where
you
you
found
found it. That's grandmother. I think you got that from
If you
grandmother.
can find it, that's the point. If you can find
it. If it's dirty, you found it. You found
You
it.
guys are funny. I tell you, funny. All right. So, now, so a wedding is coming soon. Do you guys have
Yes.
you have any idea? And is this going to be a big to do? Are we just talking, just a small little quaint family, or
I
maybe
want.
just the two of
I
you?
want under 50.
Christopher, you want under 50. Okay.
Under 50.
Rico?
There were 246 people at my birthday party, of my closest people at my birthday party just last year.
Right. I know
So
Rico.
that means
So you
125.
guys
There
got to.
are there are more than 50 people in my family that will be at this wedding.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, I know this is gonna be really something because
I said either it's no wedding, we elope and
right,
then come back and have a party,
right.
or we just have a glorious event and occasion and, come one, come all. Not come one, come all, but
Yeah.
a fairly decent amount of people that are close to my heart that I want to be there. I mean, I would say if I had to narrow it down a bit, maybe 100, people that I know for sure that need to be there.
Right.
Well, I am
And
sure.
I'm gonna tell you something funny too. How I know this is different is because my family will even say I've talked weddings and this and that, but like really going forward and you know, putting forth an effort towards it is just a whole nother situation. Like I have, I finally, I never really, even though I've mentioned it, I never really saw a reason for it other than to just do it because it was available to us as gay people. But to find somebody that I love enough to want to keep and want to put a contract on it. Like I'm not letting this Negro get away from me. I need to get this on some paper, and I need a vial of blood around my neck so that it'll be really hard for this brother to
Oh,
get away from me. So
oh,
that's where I am, which brings a whole new meaning to that word for me, to
yeah,
wedding. Like I've never, even though it's cute to just know that, oh, this is the binding contract and it's legal. It's gonna take a lot. He's gonna have to reconsider leaving me.
yeah.
Is a whole nother story.
All
Right.
right.
It shouldn't even be an option. It really should not.
Yes. Okay. All right. Well, I am so very happy for you guys. I can't wait to hear more about you two, the wedding, and everything. And just know, best wishes to both of you. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. So, how
Thank you
can
so much.
how can people hear more from you? Because like Christopher, you're in retail, you're doing a lot in California, and then Rico, you do a lot with 911 set, and then you've even done some things with Shaquille O'Neal, and you've just the list goes on and on. But Rico, how can people like follow you or attend your classes for hair? I mean, you were doing a wig on Christopher the other day, just practicing getting that wig together. So, how can people hear more about you and hear from you?
So everybody, I'm DaRico Jackson. That's DARICO Jackson. And it's just my name at everything. No hyphens, no spaces, um, no nothing. Just DaRico Jackson, and that is at Facebook, Instagram, DaRico Magic on Instagram, MAGIC. If you want to see my work, I pay attention to Instagram and Facebook. You can always go into my messaging. Um, um, or just reach out to me. I don't have a problem with that at all. My emails are the same, DaRico Jackson at Gmail at Yahoo. I'm always on there for you hairstylists that are out there that might want some advice. Any of the people at home that just want to say hello, I would love to hear from you. I was there. I actually had, Tina didn't mention this, but I'm very proud of it. I was at home in St. Louis and was awarded the key to the city by
That's
the
right.
authority of yes, the Boardman of Aldermen. So
Mm.
I was given that award, and I'm documented that November 1st is DaRico Jackson Day. I always like to give it up for my people at
Yes,
home.
yes, yes.
Um, so any time on anything. Incidentally, this experience and us being blessed to be on this show has prompted a little YouTube experience with Christopher DaRico. It's probably going to be called. We're trying to figure out the name. It's probably going to be called Living with DaRico and Christopher, and we'll be on there. Doing various moments in quarantine, having conversations with everybody. And Christopher is a wonderful cook, and so he'll be giving some recipes, and
Ah,
you can get a chance to hang out with us at the house, do some gardening. Christopher has a wonderful vegetable garden in the backyard. He got
wow.
11 tomatoes coming on our brand new plant already, and so just different things like that. We've been trying to find things to do at home during the quarantine to keep ourselves occupied. But we got such a big response from just that Facebook Live. I mean, we had over, 400 or 500 views for 2 hours straight. I mean, I'm sorry, not four or five. We had about thirty views, 2 hours straight. We had like 400 comments, and
Oh, yeah.
so we thought, oh, it'll be fun, doing this on a regular basis. So we actually had our first attempt at recording one yesterday, and I decided I'm going to scratch that one and throw it away, and we're going to try it all over again. But we should be up soon, so look forward to that too.
All right. And Christopher, how do we get, besides seeing you on the videos that you're going to be doing soon, is there a social media link that we can?
Actually, my Instagram,
Yeah.
which is CGD1968,
Okay.
on Instagram, but actually we're working along with working on that. I'm trying to consider something that I can get for people to watch and enjoy kind of daily, if
Okay.
not, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that. So that's going to happen. It's just going to be a day and a reflect of the day, learning aha moments. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Well, I tell you, both of you have much character, and I tell you, I will definitely be watching.
Likewise.
All right. Yes.
Yay!
All right.
Yay! I'm so excited, Tina, to talk to you. I want to hug you so much. It's been so long, and
I
I'm so
know.
grateful that you thought enough of us to have us on your show. And I'm thankful to all of the listeners for sitting and listening to my horribly boring story. And hopefully, you all will be bored some more with us in the future.
Oh, I'm sure
I
that
love you, Tina.
it's good. It's good. It's all good. Thank you so much, DeRico. Thank you so much, Christopher, for being on the Lovers Lounge. So now, before I close, guys, you that are listening, I want to remind you not to forget to subscribe, comment, rate, and or like the show because this helps me to know the types of topics that you all are most interested in. And of course, who knows, it could possibly keep me around for a little while longer. So, thanks, listeners, for listening to the Lovers Lounge podcast, where we talk to experts and other guests on topics related to love, relationships, and sex. I, of course, am your host, Tina Love, and until next time, peace. And of course, don't you forget, love.